Do you see this? Oh God. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on my second YouTube video. Posting my first video definitely taught me a lot of lessons. There's one, it definitely taught me how many times I say that's ridiculous. So there we go. Thank God for editing. So in today's video, as you may have seen by the title, we are going to do my December TBR. We've got Remy right here. You can't see him. He definitely likes to be sitting on my lap at all times. So again, I'm really excited for today. If you remember from my last video, and if you haven't watched it, feel free to go back and watch it. I organized my entire bookshelf and I also took stock of my physical TBR. I had counted in the last video that I had 97 books on my physical TBR, which that's insane. And then I later found out it is actually even more. I have my entire list of my physical TBR right here on my phone. Hopefully you're able to see this. I'm screen recording it. And if I scroll all the way down, as you can see, I have 108 books. And that's just the ones that I physically have. And that actually doesn't include, I have a couple series for Game of Thrones. That's actually 5 books. I only counted it as 1. The Red Rising trilogy, I have 3. And then Lightlark trilogy, I have 3. So I also have books on my Kindle. As you can see, those are books that I've either purchased on Kindle, I don't have the physical copy of, I have on Kindle Unlimited, or books that are like really at the top of my mind in my library. So there's those, and I did the math for you. And that is 135 books. I have 135 books that I want to read. That's like 2 years worth of reading. And that's if I buy no books and read no new ones. So that's obviously not happening. So my next plan is I am going to take all of these books and I want to put them into my Fable account. So that way I have one long list in my Fable so I can keep track of the books that I take off of my physical TBR. We're gonna head into the Fable app. I'm gonna speed myself up so that way you can watch me do it quickly. And we're going to get this 135 books into one folder on my Fable. I will link my Fable down below if you'd like to follow me. I have added the first 31 books and I am now going to just go do this off camera because I'm getting bored, so I can only imagine that might be boring to watch. Also, I need to see this. I can't get anything done with this little doggy. It is time to choose our December TBR. So I officially have every book into my Fable under my own physical TBR folder. There was just 2 books that I couldn't find on there. However, those are books that are at the very end of my priority list anyways. I am ready to choose my December TBR. I was thinking something that might be a little bit fun and a little bit different is to have a random number generator choose my TBR. I think I'm only gonna choose, I'm thinking like 5 or 6 books because I also really want to have some freedom this month to read books that I actually want, and I'm also still in the middle of 2 very long books. So I want to make this as realistic as possible while also being kind of fun. I have my random number generator right here, as well as my physical TBR note. So we've got 1 through 135. Let's do the very first book. Ooh, 117. That's gonna be a big scroll. Uh-oh, this is gonna make me do math. So I just realized that I've counted the series that I have in my physical TBR. So for example, the Lightlark trilogy, I have 3, and then the Game of Thrones trilogy, it counted as 5. However, I obviously won't pick up the second book in a series. So I actually need to really quickly add this and change the number. So it's actually 127 books. So I have 127. So let's change this number generator to 127. All right, we are going to re-roll. Okay, ready, go. Ooh, 60. Okay, let's see what book 60 is. Oh, we've got the Gingerbread Bakery. Oh, that's fun. That one's very festive. Nice. All right, so we've got our very first book, The Gingerbread Bakery. Let's go for book number 2. Ooh, 95. Okay, let's scroll down and see what 95 is. Ooh, we're getting into the nonfiction category. So we've got The Body Keeps the Score. Out of all of my nonfiction books, that's honestly probably the one that I'm the most excited for. So we're gonna add that to the list. If I do get another nonfiction, I'm going to respin because I definitely don't like reading more than one nonfiction in a month. I mean, I know it's December and next month we want to be improving ourselves, but there's only so much improvement that can go on. Oh, ooh, book 4, way at the top. Oh, Milk Teeth, interesting. I don't really know if I want to read that, but we are going to add that to the list as well. I got that from a recommendation of Ava Malosh here on YouTube. She's definitely more of a, I would say, smart reader than me. I like to read for fun, and the books that she reads definitely tend to be more mentally challenging, I would say. So that's a little bit intimidating. However, sometimes the most intimidating books are actually some of the best. So we're gonna have that as a tentative number 3. I might allow a respin or 2 though. We'll see. Okay, next book. 110. Uh-oh, I think that we're getting, oh no, we're not. Ooh, This Woven Kingdom. So that is the first book in a trilogy. I don't own this book, however, I have it on my Kindle, and I actually have a lot of friends who have recommended this series to me, so I'm actually kind of excited for that one. I'm not in the middle of a lot of series right now that are complete, so I think I could do with starting a new series. So that's a really fun one. All right, let's do one more. 22. Ninth House. All right, no, I can already tell you right now that's a no. That one scares me, and there's only so many scary books I can add to my TBR in a month. I know it's a good one. It's definitely kind of like that dark winter academic fall vibes as far as I know. However, I don't know. Let's put that as a tentative, and let's roll one more because I think we're at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah. Let's just roll one more time, and then we're gonna see what we get and see if we want to replace any of these. 11. Clytemnestra. So this one, I don't really know a lot about this book. I think that the cover really got me in the bookstore, and I believe it's a Greek god type story, so ancient Greece. In the past, I've always really loved reading about Greek mythology, so I kind of like that one. There's also a couple books that are on my radar for the books I want to read before the end of the year. I probably have around like 4 or 5, so I'm gonna pull those out too, and we're going to try to make a 10 book TBR that I can hopefully, fingers crossed, stick to. This looks like a pretty large stack, so I'm officially nervous. We are back over here. I've got all of my books stacked here to my left. I'm going to go through and we're gonna kind of finalize the last of our TBR. Let's get going. I'll just do what I'm first grabbing. So, the dreaded Ninth House. This book, Ninth House, appears to me to be about a girl named Alex. Actually, her real name is Galaxy, which is kind of cool. And she goes to Yale and she gets a full ride to this Ivy League school. And then when she's there, she discovers the hidden secret societies that Yale has, which I've definitely, I don't know, I know in Gilmore Girls, they kind of talk about the secret societies, except these sort of seem like they're magical secret societies. So that's kind of fun. It's sort of giving spooky, haunted type vibes, which isn't always necessarily my favorite, especially going into December and Christmas when I want to be happy and cozy. But this does seem like a really good book. I mean, I've heard such great things about Leigh Bardugo. I read Six of Crows, which is one of my favorite duologies ever, especially in the fantasy realm. And so I know that I love their writing. So I don't know, this is definitely a contender. The next book we have is The Body Keeps the Score. I've definitely heard about this book a lot in the health and wellness industry. It's something that I've been very interested in, about how our bodies can store past traumas and events that have happened, how trauma can literally create and shape the pathways in our brain. And I feel like it might actually even give some good tips for healing. I'm on a path to become sickeningly educated. Like, I want to be somebody who just knows a little bit about so many different topics so that I can be a good conversationalist. And I feel like this is one of those books that a lot of people have read and loved, and I'm definitely very intrigued by. The next book we have is Clytemnestra. In terms of this character, Clytemnestra, I've never heard of her in terms of Greek mythology. My intro to Greek mythology was through Percy Jackson in middle school. We read that in one of my classes, and I loved reading Circe and The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and I think that I would really love this story. You were born to a king, but you marry a tyrant. You stand by helplessly as he sacrifices your child, to placate the gods. You watch him wage war on a foreign shore, and you comfort yourself with violent thoughts of your own, because this was not the first offense against you. This was not the life you ever deserved, and this will not be your undoing. Slowly, you plot. So this essentially sounds like the ultimate story of women's rage. That's kind of cool. I love women's rage. Yeah, I think that would be a good one. The only thing that's like holding me back is this is a long book. This is thick. How many pages? It has a glossary at the end. 482 pages. So, I mean, it's not terrible. It feels thicker than 482 pages, honestly. Next we have Cutesy Little Gingerbread Bakery. This is by Lori Gilmore, I believe. She wrote a bunch of those very popular book talk books. So she wrote The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, The Christmas Tree Farm, The Strawberry Patch Pancake House, and then this one, The Gingerbread Bakery. So I've personally never read any of those other books, except I know that they've all been very TikTok famous. It says it's a small town, spicy, festive romance. And I mean, I love Gilmore Girls. I know she's heavily influenced by Gilmore Girls. So I feel like this could be a fun one to honestly read, like kind of just binge on Christmas Eve. I don't know. I think this could be kind of fun. I'm not expecting anything amazing or groundbreaking, but you never know. Lastly, our last book on the random number generator TBR, we have Milk Teeth by Jessica Andrews. So this is definitely not one of the most popular books of my knowledge, at least. I actually have a cool story about this book. Like I said earlier, I was inspired to buy this book from a creator, Ava Maloche, and she read this book, I believe, for her college thesis. And this past September, I was in London with my mom, and I got this book at Daunt Bookstore, which is like that beautiful bookstore on everyone's Pinterest. It's actually my profile photo here on YouTube, so I loved that bookstore so much. So this book kind of holds a special place in my heart. But like I said, I think that this is definitely more of an intellectual read. I think I'm going to be highlighting, underlining. I never would have picked this up on my own. However, I think that the TBR random number generator really did me good with this one. So, all right, so we have the 5 books that I chose from my random number generator TBR, and now I'm going to show you the books that I kind of had already in the back of my mind to read in December. So the first one is none other than Fallen City by Adrienne Young, and this one's got the beautiful sprayed edges, and look at the inside cover of this book. This is definitely a beautiful book, and I don't really know much about this. I know that this is the author that wrote The Unmaking of June Barrow. And honestly, I read this blurb on the back and I was instantly sold, so I'm gonna read this to you. I knew this pain, the fractured remnants of the broken thing buried like a knife in my chest. There were times when I could still feel Luca's hands on my face, when I could still taste his tears as I'd kissed him for the last time. That pain was the reason for everything. That sounds so good. I'm really excited. I really want to read this one. I don't need to read it this month, however, I was planning on picking it up anyways. All right, next we have Fearless by Lauren Roberts. So this is the third book in the Powerless trilogy. I have read the first two. I really liked the first book. Kind of like everyone, I thought the second book was okay. I liked it more than I think the majority of people did. However, I would really like to go into the new year having kind of closed off this series so I can make room for a new series. The only thing that's been holding me back is this is a long book. It's 584 pages before the epilogue. I mean, I know it's a closing out of a series, but I've heard nothing but good things about this, and I know based on the way that Reckless ended, I think that this book is something that I really want to get into. I'm excited to finish off a series. And then if I read this, I'll probably also read a little novella, Fearful, but that's only I think it's less than 100 pages. Next, we have a book that I have been dying to read, and that is none other than Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. I don't really know much about this book other than it might make me cry. It's very action-packed, and I think that the magic system has something to do with a typewriter. No, it's something called a spellograph. So I have no idea what that is. However, lots of booktubers that I love have recommended this book. So that's essentially, it's got the stamp of approval. If any of you watch Chris and Mads, their podcast, they both love M.L. Wong. And then also Luce's Library here on YouTube. I think she also has a TikTok and Instagram. She just read this in November. So it's been very highly rated. I know that the other book that she wrote, The Sword of Kaigan, is also a really popular one. However, for some reason, I feel a little bit more drawn to this one. So I really want to read this in 2025. Next up, we kind of have 2 for 1. I have 2 books by B.K. Borison. So the first is Lovelight Farms, and then I also have Good Spirits. It appears that it's a fake dating trope, which I usually do love. It looks like our main character named Stella, she owns a Christmas tree farm and it is failing. So she is trying to bring it back to life. So she enters this contest for publicity that could give her a $100,000 prize, except to make it seem like a more romantic place, she of course said on the application that she had a boyfriend, but she doesn't. So she dates, I believe, her best friend. His name is Luca. That's funny. I feel like there was also a Luca in that blurb on Fallen City. Yep, Luca. So I guess I could be reading about 2 Lucas this month, but in very different books. This just looks like a fun little rom-com. This would also be a really good one to kind of binge on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. So this one I'm really looking forward to. I'm definitely reading that this month. And then I also have B.K. Borison's new release, Good Spirits. I have heard nothing but good things about this. It's kind of bordering on that spooky Christmas vibe, I think. So the main character, the male in this, is a ghost, and he is the love interest for our main female. So I think her name is Harriet, and she's being haunted by this ghost, Noah, and then it evolves from there into their love story. So this is definitely something that I'm very interested in reading, and I'm like 90% sure I'm gonna read this month. Honestly, I think it would be kind of fun to do a Christmas themed reading vlog. If that's something that you think you would like to see, let me know. All right, and then lastly, the last book that I have on my list of books that I really wanted to get to was another book that I actually just bought the other day. That is Conform by Ariel Sullivan. I'm obsessed with this cover. I don't know why I love like fantasy dystopian books that are white, because most of them are very dark and like kind of like creepy looking on the cover, and I love how bright this is with just the white and the gold. I have heard this book described as dystomance, so like a mixture of dystopian and romance. And one thing about me is I grew up absolutely obsessed with Divergent and Hunger Games. I've read those series and watched the movies endless amount of times. I think I've actually read the Hunger Games books at least 4 times, Divergent 3 times. The most recent time I read them both was a few years ago. I'm utterly obsessed with dystopian, and I feel like dystomance is exactly what we've been missing. So I don't really know anything about this. I know it has a blurb on the back from Sarah J. Maas, and if Sarah J. Maas puts her stamp of approval on something, you should know one thing: I am reading it. So she says it's compulsively readable and vividly written. It kept me awake long past my bedtime. Ariel Sullivan is a writer to watch. So I love a book that keeps you awake at night and that is too good that you can't put it down. It's a book that's just been on the back of my mind, and I really would like to get to it. This branch is poking me in the face, but this is okay. So if anybody wants to know how to screen record on a MacBook Air, it is just Command-Shift-5. That was so much easier than I thought it was about to be. My future self, I'm a little bit scared for. Alrighty, so now that I've recorded a lot of very useless things, I heard a chainsaw. And then, whoa,